Hey everyone, welcome to the Zest, the official podcast of Orange Coast Magazine. I'm Chelsea Rainieri, and today we have a very special episode with a Zest partner. He is the owner of Epic Ceramic and Stone, a luxury tile and stone installation company. This month, he's being featured in our November issue as well, so be sure to grab a copy and to read more about him. Thank you so much for being here today, Josiah Lilly.
Thank you for having me here, Chelsea.
Of course. So you have such an incredible story. I would love to just dive right in. In 1989, at just 16 years old, you got a job doing stucco at a house in Dana Point. So what initially drove you to take this position?
So, I was a typical teenager. I had 16, just got my license, had got a pretty crappy truck and needed to pay for that. Wanted to have cool clothes, hang out with my friends, surf. And my parents didn't have a lot financially, kind of lived month to month, paycheck to paycheck. So I wanted to be able to provide for myself and support myself, help out my family. So I got a job. I was actually doing homeschooling for my high school. I went to regular school through 8th grade. And then for high school, I did homeschooling so that I would be able to work.
Oh, wow.
So when I was 16, I got a job through a friend of my father's who did stucco. And stucco wasn't my dream job by any means, but it was a job. So I went to work just as a helper, learning the stucco trade.
And can you share what happened on the second day of the job?
Yeah, so on the second day, the tile guy came up to me and said, "Can you read a tape measure?" And I said, "Of course, who can read a tape measure?" And he said, "My helper can't, so why don't you quit doing stucco and come back to work for me tomorrow doing tile?" And I've always loved design. I've always loved art, been super creative. It's kind of like been a passion of mine since I was very young. So I thought tile seems a lot more in line with what I love as opposed to doing stucco. So I quit doing stucco that day and came back to work the next day and started learning the tile trade.
Nice. And did you pick it up pretty quickly?
Yeah, I'm a pretty aggressive learner and I've always been pretty entrepreneurial. And so I asked a ton of questions. Was trying to understand, why are you starting here? What's this method? What are we doing this? I took a ton of just mental notes and trying to kind of understand the methods behind everything. And so after about a year of being an apprentice and kind of asking a lot of questions and having my notes, I felt like I was ready to take it on myself. So I started my first tile company, started Epic basically, when I was 17 years old.
That's unreal. What were some of the challenges that you faced when you were first starting out?
Well, being 17 was one of them, and just being really inexperienced in business, not having really much business education at all, being very inexperienced in the trade. And also, I probably looked like I was 14. I mean, a 17-year-old trying to get a job to do tile for getting people to trust them is a big enough thing. And you look even younger. I remember a builder that I still work with used to always tease me, even when I was in my 20s, and be like, "Did your mom drop you off from math class? You could bid my job." So that was a challenge, having people trust you with their money and doing something as important as the finishing touches on their home. So that was a big challenge that kind of went to the school of hard knocks, I guess.
Definitely. Yeah. I don't even remember what I was doing at 17, but it was not starting a business. That's very impressive. And then you moved to the Caribbean. Why'd you make this decision? And do you have a favorite memory you can share of working there?
So I was actually raised in a very religious household, and my
Mhm.
parents were Jehovah's Witnesses, and I was raised in that religion. And so initially, I wanted to go down there. I was 19 when I moved down there. I've been doing tile a couple of years, and I just wanted to live somewhere different and kind of do something. And I was kind of wasn't like a missionary, but I was kind of supporting a congregation down there. So I went down there initially just for adventure. Was kind of like the
Mhm.
real reason I went down there, do something different and be supportive of that religion. Because, once again, I've been always being entrepreneurial and being very, have a lot of aspirations as even at very young. So I wanted to even the religion, be very supportive. So that was kind of the motivation for going down there initially. And I lived in a small island in the British Virgin Islands called Virgin Gorda. And I actually couldn't, yeah, it was super cool. It was an amazing experience. Going from Southern California to an island that had 3,000 people was a pretty huge culture shock. So I learned a lot. We weren't able to work there because it was a British island. It was too expensive. But I was there for about 9 months. And then I moved to Puerto Rico. And Puerto Rico, because of the weather, no one uses like carpet or really wood down there. All the flooring is either tile or marble or terrazzo or some sort of a hard surface. So I moved down there, and I was there about 2 years. And I was doing tile and stone down in Puerto Rico. And probably my favorite memory, I guess, was my parents, for some reason, still to this day shocks me, allowed my brother to move down there with me when he was 17. And so he moved down there and was my helper. And so we did tile and stone all throughout Puerto Rico for a couple years before I moved home.
What? So do you feel like you kind of honed your skills in Puerto Rico, or was it more when you got back?
Yeah, I did, in the sense that I really had to rely on myself, right? When I was here as a 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old doing tile and stone, I had other people I could kind of rely on. I kind of always would have had a plan maybe to fall back on. But there, I was in basically a new country and a whole new culture. And I was on my own. Then I had my little brother there that I would need to make sure I was be providing for, taking care of. So I had a lot of responsibility. So I think I grew up a lot. I grew up a lot during that time period. I learned a lot about business, about managing business, about just different levels of responsibility. So yeah, it was, and also learning how to deal with, as a businessman, dealing with different cultures, dealing with certain expectations maybe you weren't used to. So there were a lot of challenges that I had to overcome that I'm sure helped refine me in my youth.
Yeah, definitely. And then you moved back to Southern California a couple years later. And then 8 years after that, you bought your first commercial building and built the shop from the ground up. So how did your passion for stone and tile kind of evolve over this period of 8 years?
So when I was doing tile and stone initially, when I came back to California, the tile and stone is there are two kind of aspects to the industry. There's the actual tile and stone part, and then you've got your fabrication, your solid like slabs where you do fabrication in the shop and installation. So I had always done the tile and stone installation in house myself, my helper, my guys, and the team I started building, and the actual fabrication component I actually subcontracted out. After a few years of doing that, I realized that I was now relying on a team I didn't have control over to execute the job. And I've always been very, very passionate about doing things at a very high level. My dad was a perfectionist, and that kind of ingrained that in me. I've always had that mindset. So after a period of time, I realized working with a subcontractor, if they didn't have the quality I expected, if they didn't show up on time, at the end of the day, it was my name, it was Epic who was responsible, and I didn't really have control over that. So when I bought that shop, because really the shop was designed for fabrication, because you need to have machinery, you have to have a place where you can store your slabs. A lot more is required when you enter the fabrication aspect of the industry versus just tile and stone. You can kind of just have a garage and work on that, at some point. But when you're doing the actual fabrication, it requires more of, an established place, a shop. So that's why I bought the building, was because I was so passionate about having control over our projects, knowing that the quality would always be something that I could dictate and not relying on someone else, and then showing up on time. Because for me, that passion for excellence is not only the quality of the product, but also how you deal with people, showing up on time. There are a lot of layers to that. So I wanted to be in control and be able to truly deliver what I had created as an epic product.
Yeah. And I've seen photos of your projects and they're stunning, like dream homes. They're gorgeous. And then also more recently in 2019, you moved your business into a 30,000 square foot building. Can you explain kind of what makes this a state of the art facility?
Yeah, so this is the third shop I've built from the ground up. And hopefully my last, because they're not easy to do, and they keep getting bigger and bigger. And yeah, so this building came with a massive yard. It had, once again, it's 30,000 square feet, so it's a really big footprint. And it's
Yeah.
funny, we've been here only about 5 years, and when I first took it over, I remember walking in going, how in the world am I ever going to fill this building up? It's so huge. And then within probably 2.5 years, it's like, wow, we could use a bigger building.
No
Uh,
way.
yeah, just because we have, it's all about the client experience. And so we had a bigger shop so I could make sure I stored the slabs inside, because sometimes when you keep marble slabs or different materials outside, they can get exposed to the sun. There could be damage. So I wanted to make sure I protected
Mhm.
the client's product. I wanted to give a big enough space for us to implement new machinery, new technology, and to really create a lot of shops in general, but also here in California, are really dirty and dusty. And we wanted to create a very, very clean facility where clients could come in, watch us fabricate, not worry about walking out looking like they just entered a dust
Yeah.
zone. So, we recycle all of our water. We installed overhead cranes that can move everything, so you don't have forklifts going in and out. So I kind of had this vision for creating a really high level fabrication shop, and we needed a bigger footprint to be able to do that. So that was kind of what was the motivating factor.
Yeah. That's such an awesome idea with the cranes that move overhead rather than having, like, it sounds really nice. And I've never even been there. So tell me about some of the technology that you use.
So, one thing I've always done is tried to reinvest in the business
Mhm.
and the technology that we use. The goal has always been to make the customer experience, the client experience, as personal as possible. Over the years, our jobs have just gotten bigger and bigger and more detailed and more expensive, and a higher level of quality, higher level of material. So we want the client to feel like they're a part of that process, because the tile and stone portion, it's really personal, right? Because if you think about what we do, is we do kitchens where you're going to feed your family and you're going to sit around with friends and tell stories, where you're going to the bathroom where either you want to go to unwind after a long day and take a nice warm bath, or you're going to bathe your children. So these are such important areas of a home where really memories are made.
Mhm.
So we want that experience for the client to be involved in that, because I always say we're kind of like the fashion for your home. You don't walk into a house and go,
Yeah.
nice drywall. You walk in and go, wow, beautiful wood floors, or beautiful cabinetry, or beautiful stone. So we want the client's experience to be really personal. So we have some technology. We just recently reinvested in a new a scanner built and designed in Portugal. It actually scans the slab. So when your slab comes in, it gets scanned. Then we do all of our templates are done digitally. So now we can show a full 3D rendering of the kitchen, the shower, the bathroom for the client, so they can see exactly how their material is going to look in their actual bathroom or their kitchen before we ever cut anything. We have just recently this year we invested about 400 and some $1,000 in a couple new machines that will do different kinds of finishes on stone. So slabs that might have gotten damaged for, through various reasons, we can now refinish them. We can create different textures on them. So we're always trying to be really innovative. I feel like our industry specifically can get super old school, and guys are kind of like, oh, we've always done it this way, so why would we change? And I've always wanted to stay far ahead of the curve and wanted to put the money back in there. But the ultimate goal has always been to make the client's experience more personal. We want them to feel like they're involved, because it's a ton of money. It's so
Mhm.
personal, and it's such an important component of your home. We want you to be part of that experience and to feel. We want your trust, right? Like, it's a lot of money, and a
Yeah.
lot of trust is required.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends that are starting to buy homes now and do renovations, and it seems like, as you mentioned, it can be a daunting process. But with you guys, it seems so streamlined. So, how do you make creating a space for your customers so seamless? And you kind of touch on this a bit, but if you want to elaborate a little more.
So, like, one of the things we did in our new shop was we have a dedicated area where we scan those slabs, and then we do our layout. So we have like a big screen TV where the clients can come in and they can sit down with us and they can watch those templates be placed on their slabs and then moved around to create the best layout. Because certain clients might want the veins to match a certain way. Another client could go, I don't like that. I want to be the opposite. So it's very
Oh,
subject. It's very, very subjective. Certain you could, yeah, two different people could see the same slab and both could want go, hey, this vein, I don't like it. Make sure you put the sink cut out there. And the next client goes, that vein's beautiful. I want that in the middle of my island. It's really, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? So
yeah.
we created a space where they can come in, sit down with us, and clients love to do it. It's actually really fun. I
It sounds
still fast.
fun.
It fascinates me, and I've seen it done 1,000 times. But it's a really cool, fun, interactive process. And then once again, doing the water, we heavily use water recycling and keep our shop super clean so that clients can literally walk through our shop right where we're fabricating and cutting slabs and not get dusty or dirty and actually be involved in the process. And whenever clients come to our shop, we always leave it open for them to do so. They're always really blown away at how clean it is and how inviting and how interactive what we've made it, which is what's been the ultimate goal.
Yeah, you guys make it sound so fun and easy. It sounds like something to get excited about for a client.
And the tile and stone process is so complicated. I've got friends who do like wood floor, for example. And you
Mhm.
think about a big house, you go, oh, cool, we've got maybe one or two pieces of wood floor, and there could be a lot of it, but it's rather simple. But you think about these projects we're doing, these houses have 7 to 12, 14 bathrooms. Each bathroom can have 3 to 6 different kinds of stone in it. Then you've got a couple of kitchens, 6 fireplaces, a bar, flooring. I mean, there could literally be 80 to 100 different types of stone in one project. So it can be really, really complicated and not only pricey, but complicated. And when you get to tile and the stone, you're kind of towards the end of your project. Usually it's like we're the
Yeah.
finish. So you might have been on it for 2 years already and you're kind of exhausted. Now you've got all these decisions to make, and that's so complicated, but so important. So I've always wanted to make that process as fun and enjoyable for the client as possible. I think technology and the space we've created and our attitude as a company, that's what we really try and bring to make it a fun experience for our clients.
Yeah, I can totally feel that too. Well, is there anything coming up that you'd like for our listeners to keep an eye out for at Epic Ceramic and Stone?
So I think what I am most excited about, I have a really strong passion for design. And with the new machinery we have recently purchased, it just got installed about 3 weeks ago. It's out of France. It will allow us to create some really, really bespoke textures and finishes that we could create just for each individual client. And I was just in Italy and Portugal and Greece last week visiting stone factories and at a big trade show and kind of getting some new ideas. So we have a lot of really, really cool techniques and finishes and textures we're kind of working on experimenting with right now. So I'm really excited to bring that to our clients and show them what we can do for them that will be unlike anything else they've ever seen.
Wow, that's so exciting. Well, we're coming towards the end of our time, but before I let you go, I have 3 final questions for you that we call the Thoughtful Three. So, first, what is a moment in your career that you're most proud of?
I don't know if I have one specific moment, but I would tell you the thing I'm most proud of in my career
Mhm.
is the family we've created at Epic. I have a lot of employees who we call family members that have been with me for over 20 years. I've had them come up to me and say, hey, I've worked at other companies, Josiah, but people say they're family, but I've never experienced it like this. Because of working at Epic, I've been able to buy my first home, start a
Wow.
family. We've helped some of them get their citizenship. So I think that's been the most rewarding thing in my career is the team and family that we
Mhm.
have created that, like I said, some of them have been here many of them have been over 20 years. So that's extremely rewarding for me to have some 17-year-old kid be able to create a business that has changed the lives of some of the employees, which has been, it's hard to put into words what that means to me.
Yeah, that's amazing. What was the best advice that you received when you were first starting out?
My dad used to always say, if you're going to do something, do it right or don't do it.
Mhm.
And that's always been a motto that I've lived by. If I'm going to sweep a floor, if I'm going to clean a window, anything I do, I've always taken a lot of personal pride in that. I want it. I want that window to be spotless. I want that floor to be swept clean.
Mhm.
Not if anyone else sees it, but for me, it means a lot to me. Whenever I walk on one of our jobs, I don't ever think how much money we make. I just go, wow, I can't believe my guys, our team did this. I take so much pride in that quality and that excellence is one of our values. So that's what really shines through and what means the most. So I think if you're going to do it right or don't do it.
I love that. And lastly, what advice do you have for young entrepreneurs?
Find your passion and have a plan.
Mm.
They say if you have once you find your passion, if you do that for work, then you never really work a day in your life because you're always doing what you enjoy. So I think figuring out what that passion is, what you truly, truly love, and then once you find that, build a plan around it and stick to it. Because I feel like the most successful companies in the world are the ones that really know who they are. And then their employees also know that and buy into it. So I think once you find your passion, it's easy to stay motivated and to stay driven.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. This was such a great time talking with you. You have such an inspiring story, and I'm so honored to get to share it.
Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you for your time.
Of course.